Hey, friends. Welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast. Come join me, your host, Nicole, for some hope-filled conversations about heartfelt entertainment that makes your heart swing. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast. I'm your host, Nicole, joined today by my friend Catherine to talk about Christmas in Midnight Clear from Great American Family, starring John McLaren, and I apologize if I mispronounce your name, Alicia Josipovic. It was written by Riley Weston and directed by Nicholas Humphreys. Welcome back to the podcast, Catherine.
Thank you for having me. And I'm excited to talk about a movie written by one of our friends.
Yes, Riley did
Yes,
a great job with this movie, and it's awesome that she wrote four other ones for the network this year, too.
she's had a busy and blessed year for sure. So yeah, it's great I'm excited for her.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching the other four because I haven't had a chance to see those yet, but I will.
I'm with you. And I like to say that just remember, technically, you have 12 more days of Christmas after the 25th, or maybe including the 25th.
Yeah,
Christmas goes until January 6th. So spread the love.
for sure. And there's just so many movies it's hard to keep up with between Hallmark and Great American Family and Up TV. I have yet to watch an Up TV Christmas movie this year.
Yeah. And Netflix has
And
some
no-
like really good ones that I see a little preview for every once in a while. And I'm like, oh, I got to get over there. And then I end up rewatching the same stuff over again, which isn't bad.
Oh,
But I'm like, I should really, stop watching like Castle and Bones and actually watch a Christmas movie
no, in Lifetime.
and a Lifetime movie.
But what were your first snow impressions of this movie?
I loved it. For me, it was just honestly, it was like a warm hug. The writing was the gentle reminders of faith and hope that I just feel like sometimes and I'll be honest, the last well no. So I've seen three of the Great American Family so far this year. I saw Christopher Russell's and so then the Christmas Prayer,
I haven't watched that.
which just got a sequel. So kudos to them.
Yeah.
So we've got that. And then of course, so that was very faith-based. And then we had I saw, oh, I can't remember the name of it, but Paul and Candace.
Oh, I watched that one.
Yeah, so good. And but like it was kind of just once again, just those reminders and nothing bad with I love the rom-coms and I love the comedy, but there's just like this warm hug embrace when you go to something that you're really slowing down, appreciating the season for what, like for what kind of those reminders that we need. And so I want a sequel, Riley. I hope we can, I love to see what happens with the town going forward.
Me too. I think my first impression is that I love how the faith was woven into it without it being too preachy, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes movies with a faith element can be like that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I think another thing too, maybe we'll dig into this too. I think when you're talking about the faith, a lot of it is just talking about the good. And this one really kind of did all around, like the good, the bad, and the struggles, and why you need the faith and why faith does help you walk through that. So yes, I agree. I absolutely loved her writing, and I really feel like some of it was maybe inspired based on some challenges she's had up herself. It also helps you sometimes see yourself in it too, and I could see myself in these characters.
Yeah. And I think I remember Riley saying when I talked to her on the podcast that this song was inspired by one of her songs, Town for Sale, I believe is the name of it.
Yes, yes.
Candy Canes and Coal, which is Highs, Lows, and Potholes. What were some highs for you in this movie? Some strengths.
You really had that feel of the small town feel and that community that stuck together. I have a little bit more plot holes than I think I have of the highs. For me, I just really, well, number one, no offense to the actors, but I swear that the two dads in this movie were the same guy for
Yeah,
casting.
I see what you
So
mean. Yeah.
they looked very similar. So I would have liked there have been a little bit more of a difference between the two of them for like just I think also to help with the personalities because you had one that was really rough and tough and and then you had one who was basically wearing his heart on his sleeve and wanted the best for his family, his community, his son, even if that wasn't what he himself wanted. So I kind of that one was a little hard for me, and that was just probably me personally. And then I just I like to see the growth of that change with like her dad. And I just feel like it gets too rushed. And then it's really hard to make it a believable thing to me. And so honestly, that was, I mean, but that's just once again, I think that always just comes down to timing. So that those were my struggles with the movie. But otherwise, oh, I'm sorry, one more. How old was the nephew?
I don't know. That's a good question.
He was high school. That boy looks, I mean, and if he's not in his 20s, he looks like he's in his 20s. And so I really struggled with the age thing for that one. I
Yeah.
kind of wish it would have maybe have been a younger teen, I think, in that role.
Yeah.
But I'm not the casting director.
Riley, if you're listening, we would love the answer to that question.
And we know you didn't do casting, Riley. It's cool.
Yes,
I mean,
for sure.
I'm fired once again.
No, quit saying that. We're not fired.
Not from you, from Riley. Riley's gonna be like, no, talking about my movies anymore, girl. No,
No.
I think he was high school because they had talked about bringing him to school
Mhm.
and he couldn't have a car. So I think we were supposed to believe that he was anywhere between 16 and 17. And
Probably.
for me, I just kind of felt like, and once again, my second cousin looks older than he is, but I was really struggling with that. But that was once again personal.
Maybe he looked really tall, so maybe his height could
That could be it. Yeah.
have been a factor of that. But I agree. And I think that that was one of my lows, as well as what you were saying with the two dads. But they are definitely two different actors.
They are. They just look like they themselves could be brothers.
Yes. So, actor that played John McLaren's dad was in Catering Christmas with Daniel Lissing and Merritt Patterson.
Mm.
I think he played the man that fell in love with Daniel's aunt.
And I'll have to go back and rewatch the preview for this coming week's Hallmark movie. I think he's in that one too.
Do you mean Make or Break Holiday with Evan and Hunter
He
on Hallmark?
Yeah, I mean I looked it was a very quick flash of the dad, but I'm pretty sure that he's in that one
I
too.
think it was, yeah, because I
Yeah.
recognize him. Yeah. But he's a great actor, and some of my
Hmm.
highs or strengths, uplifting tone with the faith and community themes, we already talked about that. I thought that the leads, John and Alicia, had strong performances and
Hmm.
good chemistry. And John did a fantastic job as a pastor. He needs more roles as a pastor in movies, I think.
I would agree with that. And I mean, well, number one, he just needs more roles in general. I love seeing all these different sides of him. Because knowing in real life he's just super, super funny too. And I think that in seeing these different elements that he's pulling out of himself for these characters is fantastic.
I think so too. And I think the very first movie of John's that I saw, if I remember correctly, was Winter Castle with Kevin McGarry and Amelia Ullerup.
Yep, that would be the first one that I saw.
Yeah.
And then about 7 years later, I asked him where you pee in an ice castle.
Oh, goodness.
Hey, the honest thing was, he's like, that's a good question. And then, true fact, that movie came up in Kansas City this last weekend with Kevin, just in general from the stage. I
Yeah.
think they were talking about locations. It took all of my strength to bite my lip to not ask, where do you pee at an ice castle? Sorry, John, I'll ask next time.
Oh goodness.
I was like, oh, well, here's an interesting question. Let's discuss.
And he played Kevin's character's best friend.
Yes,
That's
yes,
it.
yes.
Yeah. And of course, Amelia's sister's fiance. So
Hmm.
he did a great job in that movie.
I just love that movie in general. It was just fun and
Yeah,
playful.
really fun. But back to Christmas and Midnight Clear. Also, the comforting familiarity and holiday movie warmth was another highlight.
Hmm.
So going to our next segment, Scene Slayer, which is Scene Stealer. What were the 3 to 5 best scenes for you?
I don't know if I would necessarily say scenes. Well, no, I take it back. The one where he's praying to God in the church at the
Yeah.
beginning and just basically like same request, just checking in, and also if you could really help my dad, like I need this, but if you could really help him, that would be great. And then I really liked the group that are in the diner. Hillary, like the first time that she comes in after she's met Daniel and she's coming to get to know the town. And then the quote that came with that one was, my dad always said that you needed 3 things: a place to pray, a place to learn, and a place to gather. And and so those were the structures of your town that you needed to have. And you really could tell that it really got Hillary thinking too.
Yeah, the church, the school, and the diner.
Yeah, so if they lost the diner, then they felt that they were, especially because of how important that gathering was for them, and that, I mean, for the whole entire town just to go to the diner after Christmas Eve service,
Mhm.
pretty dang special. You don't
Yeah.
see that happening too often. And then I just kind of really felt like I really liked the sister. I really liked Nicole in this.
Yeah.
And as the innkeeper too, and then her interactions, like when Hillary said she had nowhere else to go when she was coming back because she had quit her job, and this is where she actually felt like she belonged and had that community. It was that welcome home hug.
It was really sweet. Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. I also wrote down 4 more for best scenes and then a couple of honorable mentions. But the first, it's not an honorable mention. The conversation that Daniel and Hillary had in the church about his wife, Beth.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was somewhere in between the middle and the end of the movie. That was a great moment. And Daniel and Hillary's heart to heart after decorating cookies when she's talking about her mom and they're talking about faith. And one of my favorite quotes from the movie is in that scene, and I'll mention that in a minute.
Mm.
Also, I think this was probably the best scene in the movie, and I think it's the one that Riley mentioned when I asked her, I can't remember exactly what the question was, but what scene was like the heart of this movie, and it was the town meeting when everyone stands up for Hillary.
Mm.
And that actually was very reminiscent for me, not in the same context, but the scene from When Calls the Heart, season 3, episode 3,
Oh my
when
gosh, girl.
everyone defended Frank when he had been kicked out of being the pastor for the town.
Oh, yeah. You got such a good memory. Um, I think another standout thing that just jumped to me was when Daniel's dad, he was just like, I don't know what you're doing, Lord, but thank you for what you are doing.
Yes.
And it stopped me because I was like, you should pray as if, and we are told as if that it's already happened, and thanking him, and you're thanking him in the journey for what you're learning during that, and also the unanswered prayers. And I just really, good or bad, or some days that we are heartbroken because our prayers weren't answered, but they weren't answered because there's something better down the line, or
Mhm.
or protection for us. And I think it's very easy to forget that because we're all in that like kind of like, well, what's next? And I just really like, he's like, I have no idea what's happening, but here for the ride, and thank you, Lord, for it.
That was a great moment. And just
Hmm.
going back to the one that I just mentioned for a second, I think what I love about that scene is just the community coming together to support Hillary.
Hmm.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people should follow that example, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Like, there should be a lot more kindness in the world, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, absolutely.
Also, the Christmas Eve service led by Daniel was really
Hmm.
beautiful. It actually kind of reminded me a little bit of the church service that I attend on Christmas Eve at my grandmother's church. Of course, there's a sermon led by the pastor, and then we do the candlelight service. That's
Hmm.
actually what my grandmother's church does. And the very last part of that service is turning off the lights with the candle and singing Silent Night.
That's how we ended at the church I grew
Yeah.
up at. That's how we always ended. And I think most of them that I go to when they do that, that's always it's with Silent Night. So yeah.
Yes. And I thought that it was just really well shot too.
Hmm.
So well done. Yeah. Some honorable mentions, Daniel and Hillary's conversation on the bench about her being part of something so meaningful and being touched by the Christmas spirit, I think is what Daniel said. And then the tree lighting probably was another one. Always love a good town tree lighting.
So one of my honorable mentions is for her dad saying, "We're building a future. It is not maintaining the past or a past." And it was kind of like it was a reminder to me that you need the past in order to actually create the future, because it's number one, learning from the past. It's, to, like I mean, I think it was obviously in there to make you think, but I really did think with it. So kudos on that line, Riley.
Yes, well done. Who do you think had the best performance in this movie out of the whole cast? Of course, everyone did a great job, but who do you think was the standout?
I just love John. Sorry. He's my cutie for this movie.
I'd say John too. He nailed the role of the pastor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what was the best quote for you?
That prayer isn't just about getting what you want. It's also about finding, I mean, essentially finding strength in the wait, or it's, accepting whatever that is. But prayer isn't just about getting what you want, is a great reminder for me, because we always pray with just the intention. And then if that, once again, that doesn't happen, there's a reason it doesn't happen. And I think that those are just the gentle reminders that I know I personally need, that I would assume other people I feel probably in that boat with that need that reminding too.
Yeah, I think so too. And that was a great quote. And that one actually reminds me a little bit, not the same wording, but I guess the same sentiment maybe. There's a line in a Signed, Sealed, Delivered movie, Signed, Sealed, Delivered, Lost Without You, when I don't know if you've seen this one, but it's the one where Joe and Oliver go on the camping trip and they get lost, and Shane has to call his friend, who is a female that he could have potentially been in a relationship with 15 years before, you know,
Mm,
that love triangle. So, she had
mm-hmm,
to call Dale, that's the woman's name, who, of course, is a police officer. And the two of them, Shane and Dale, they're sitting at the kitchen table, dining room table, and they're waiting, I guess, to hear news about, whether Joe and Oliver have been found, which of course they haven't yet. And Shane at one point asks something along the lines of, if God has everything figured out, then what's the point of praying? And Dale
mm,
says, I don't pray to change God, I pray to change me.
mm.
One
That
of the
is
best
beautiful.
quotes
Yes. Yes.
in the entire show. But back to this movie that we are talking about, I think another favorite quote of mine, or one that really stood out, was broken things could be the most beautiful of all.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Daniel telling Hillary something that his wife had said in the scene
Mm-hmm.
when they're sitting in the church pew.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if a lot of people grew up like story time with Catherine here, where I kind of felt like you weren't loved and appreciated by God if you weren't perfect. But then when, the more you like, and I don't know that it was anybody who taught me that over if it was just my own kind of like insecurity too, because of knowing who he was. But then really knowing who he was is how much that brokenness
Yeah.
is why you need him and why he came and did what he did. And then that is what makes that relationship beautiful, because you can't fix yourself by yourself. And
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah. Very true. So going to Behind the Garland, which is behind the frame, what were your thoughts on the director's vision, first off, from Nicholas?
I mean, the church scenes were very beautiful. And I love that, especially preserving that history, and then also showing that like where it was standing in its own brokenness, you absolutely felt that watching that through the screen.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that he focused on, the cozy, feel-good atmosphere, the community and the emotional connection, I think too.
Hmm.
So he did a great job. And then, what are your thoughts on the cinematography and production design? Of course, the cinematography is the director of photography, and I think it's maybe the head of, the camera department. So the ones
Hmm.
actually filming, and then, of course, production design is the sets.
I thought that they picked great locations, and I
Yes.
really liked the inn in this one.
Yeah.
Just the way that that was decorated, and then the home's decorated too. But for me, it's just honestly just kudos.
I think for me, what I loved with the cinematography, I think my favorite shots were a lot of the scenic shots. For example, the ones at the old church, so the first church that was built for the town, and then the wide shots in the scenes at the current church that they were trying to repair. And then also, I think one of my favorite shots specifically is the one at the tree lighting when we see the two sections of seating, and then,
Hmm.
Daniel right at the end, standing in front of everyone when he's giving his speech, or before he gives his speech, I think.
Hmm.
And, the tree is behind him. So that was a great shot.
It was very beautiful, yes.
And then what were your thoughts on the music and the costume design?
I love traditional Christmas music. So
Yeah.
when we get that into that, and then with a silent night and stuff like that, that's always going to hold a special place to my heart. And then I just thought I really actually kind of like my favorite outfit was the first striped one. Reminded me of like a not a candy striper, the old 50s diners for the lady who owned the restaurant. There was just something reminiscent about that with her. And I really liked Alicia.
Yeah, she had some great
I
outfits.
really liked her outfits. Yeah.
Yeah, I would totally wear some of those. And I think
Mm-hmm.
I really loved the white coat that she wore in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
and then music, beautiful instrumental score, I think, as well as some Christmas classics sprinkled in.
Mm-hmm.
Fun question for you. I don't think I've ever asked you this. What is your favorite Christmas song? So I'll do two categories. The non-worship style Christmas songs and then like worship Christmas songs, if that makes sense.
Well, I'll say for an old fashioned like or not old fashioned for a classic, it's always going to be Oh Holy Night.
Yeah.
Like that, yeah, that for me is just as like the first time when I think that it hit me the way that that song is supposed to hit you. It was just like I never came back from that. Actually, what I will say, and another element of Christian music too, is it was something that went on tour. It was called Emmanuel, and it went on tour in the 90s and it had Michael W. Smith, Amy Grant, Larnell Harris, Sandy Patty, like all the ones that were touring Point of Grace in the 90s. And it was a whole living album about the birth from birth to Christ's death. And it was never not Christmas if I did not listen to the Emmanuel soundtrack. And I had it on the CDs till I wore them out. And then we used to have a Christian bookstore up here called Northwestern Bookstore. And when they went out of business, I couldn't find them anymore. Finally, just like about like 3 years ago, found the whole recording on YouTube. So now my Christmas is back.
Oh.
Um, and then somehow, ironically, I used to hate Last Christmas by Wham, and then now I like it. So I have figured that one out. It was one day it grew on me. I was like, I like this now, and now I'm the one who's pumping it up when it plays on the radio.
Yeah, that's a tough question for me. Because there's so many Christmas songs that I love. I'd say "Oh Holy Night" is up there. Of course, I
Hmm.
love "First Noel," "Silent Night." I also love, this is considered a religious Christmas song, "All Is Well," and Michael
Oh,
W.
yep.
Smith. That's one of
Hmm.
Michael W. Smith's songs, but there's been a few versions of that. Carrie Underwood has a version.
Hmm.
Also, there's a version, it's not recorded, so there's no studio version of it, but I did see Michael W. Smith in concert on his Christmas tour December 1st, 2013. And
You've got great memory, girl.
it's one of my favorite concerts, so I'm always going to remember the day of that concert. And it
Okay.
was in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, at this beautiful church, World Outreach Church. And the girl that opened for him was top three on American Idol that year, earlier
Oh,
that year, Angie
okay.
Miller. And she sang it with him. So
Mm.
I will link one of the performances from them of that song from that tour in the description
Oh,
of this video.
yeah, because I don't think I went. I mean, it was for a long time for me. It also wasn't Christmas if I didn't go to Michael W. Smith's Christmas
Yeah.
concerts, especially when he used to tour with Point of Grace. And then my mom, like, it was for her, it just screamed Christmas because it was one of those ones that everybody dressed up. The women had beautiful ball gowns on. He'd come out in his either a fancy suit or a tuxedo. And then, like, I don't know, like maybe like 4 or 5 years after like they had taken a break and kind of were coming back to it. And then the girls were basically just coming out in jeans and mom's like, I can't go anymore. It's just not the same.
Michael W. Smith still does it. I think he's
He
on.
does. He was just here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, he comes I mean he comes a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's still I don't see him ever stopping it and I love it. And actually if you have gotten this far and you've never listened to his instrumental pieces,
They're
they
great.
are phenomenal.
He
So,
puts on a fantastic show. That
he
is,
does.
I already said it, but that is definitely one of my favorite concerts I have ever been to. Just
Hmm.
the orchestra, and of course, Michael is fantastic.
Hmm.
Great voice, great songwriter, great pianist. And I thought that at the concert I went to, his and Angie's voice paired
Hmm.
really well together on the two songs they sang, All Is Well, or actually, no, on the one song they sang together, and then she sang All Is Well, kind of solo, and I think he
Hmm.
played the piano. Christmas Day is the song that they sang together. That's another favorite Michael W.
That is a really good one.
Yeah.
And then one more person that well I loved Mandisa and
Lisa and
anything and
Matt.
she did a lot of stuff with Michael too, but and Matthew West. But one of my all-time favorite ones is Natalie Grant and it's called I Believe.
I think I've heard
And
that song.
and it is literally um she's singing about what she believes about being true and that God came to earth and then it was so beautiful and so like just the right amount of minutes that I the one play that I directed at my church as a Sunday school teacher I did that as I had them do the nativity scene with it because there's just something magical about that song. So Natalie Grant's I Believe.
Great. Yeah. If I can find them, I think they're on my personal YouTube page. I will link a couple of the videos
Yes.
from the
I would
concert.
love to see them. Yeah.
And especially including Angie's performances. She actually sang one of her original songs, and that's actually one of my favorite non-religious Christmas songs. It's called This Christmas Song.
Mm,
I will link that in the description. I think it's on Spotify, iTunes, and she did a cover of Oh Holy Night, which is really
mm.
beautiful. And then I think I'll just mention one more Christmas song that is really tough. I'll just say my grown-up Christmas list by Amy Grant because
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
just the message of that song, you can't go wrong with an Amy Grant
You
Christmas.
cannot go wrong with that. And then, okay, I'm going to be a sob fest, but just because it just hit me. And it was a Hallmark movie too, by Christmas
Oh,
Shoes.
Christmas shoes.
New,
Yeah.
yeah, that new song sang. And then that was made into a Hallmark movie.
Yes. But going back to Christmas at Midnight Clear, we went down a rabbit hole.
I love music. I'm sorry.
Oh, I love music too. I mean, it's hard not to go down a rabbit hole with music
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much great music out there.
Mm-hmm.
But what were your thoughts on the editing? So, of course, that's like the transitions between scenes and stuff.
Oh, I thought everything flowed great. And I mean, like I didn't besides my little silly holes of where I thought like I was like were they brothers instead of kind of a thing,
Yeah.
back to that, I didn't feel like I was missing anything in the story, and that's always a huge point for me.
Yes, I agree.
So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I thought it was well done.
Yeah, the editor did a great job with the transitions and
Hmm.
I think the pacing too, in my
Hmm.
opinion.
Yeah.
So, going to Beyond the Mistletoe, what were some themes for you in this movie that really stood out?
Faith, and then hope. I mean, faith, hope, joy, and love. Let's go with all of them.
Uh,
Perseverance. Let's do the fruits of the spirit. No, I just think, sometimes it's just how somebody says a line,
mhm.
and that just makes you think. And for me, those are just the warm fuzzies that I got just in general from this script. And so those are the things that are sticking out to me,
Yeah,
and hopefully will stay sticking out long after close the book on the Christmas season.
yeah. I wrote down faith in miracles. That was a big one. Community
Hmm.
versus corporate ambition. So, we saw that with small town that was
Hmm.
struggling, trying to get back up on their feet or trying to get back on their feet, so to speak, versus, Hillary and her job and, wanting to, I guess, climb the corporate ladder, by
Hmm.
getting that deal on
Hmm.
the land where the church was. So I thought that was shown really well. And then transformation and opening your heart. And we saw that, I think, with all the characters, but especially
Yeah.
Daniel and Hillary. Hillary, really, because Hillary had a big transformation in this movie.
But yeah, I would definitely say that there had to be a transformation for the town too,
Yes.
because when you've got somebody who's coming in and you know what their purpose is, and that's all about a lot, and forgiveness came back in at the end too.
Yes, I think so too. And what would you say is the overall message in this movie, and how do you think that that message applies to today?
Oh, what I'm reminded to be do all the time, trust God.
Mm-hmm.
I
For sure.
give it to God
Yeah.
and thank him in the journey. And if that applies to every day for me, and I'm sure many of your listeners, and it's a constant reminder that I be like, I'll be honest, I have the same word coming all the time that just like, have you really started to trust God? And I was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then my friend will be like, no, have you actually trusted? I'm like, well, obviously not if we're having the same conversation.
Yeah.
So, and that was actually when I talked with Riley, that was one of the overall things that she herself had a year for. And she's like, I'll happily share anytime. And so we're going to have a discussion on it where it was about just giving it to God. And then how, when she did that, it changed everything. And that's the overall theme I hear from so many of my friends that have had these amazing life transformations. And I'm still over here going, yeah, well, maybe in 2028, we'll get it done. So yeah, I just think that's why I really felt like this one definitely came from her heart. I think all of her movies do, but this one specifically, knowing her journey this last year, or the little bit that she shared when we were talking about it, I really like when I was listening to this, I was like, this is her physically speaking through a movie.
Yeah. For me, I'd say an overall message or one of them, slowing down, reconsidering your priorities. I think we saw that a lot with Hillary. Also, the most meaningful things in life, such as love, family, and faith, can't be bought or built. As we saw with the, corporate storyline trying to buy a land for the church.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one example. I think true fulfillment comes from, nurturing the relationships in your life and, the ties to your community, especially during the Christmas season. And hope, love, and community spirit can rebuild even the most broken or guarded hearts. And I think that kind of fits with the quote that I mentioned earlier on
Mm-hmm.
from Daniel's late wife, Beth.
Yeah.
So great messages in this movie. And well done to Riley and the entire cast.
Yes.
So going to final sleigh bell, what are your closing thoughts on this movie? Watch or skip, and then your rating on a scale of 1 to 5.
For me, definitely not only a watch, a rewatch. Like
Rewatch.
it really, yeah, and that's not an overall common thing for me. A lot of times it's one and done. This one, like I'm saying, whether or not it was the timing for me to see it,
Mhm.
because I watched it way after it actually aired. So that could have been that this is the reason that it was now that I watched it. And so honestly, I'd give it a 4 out of 5. I mean, I really, really enjoyed it, and it is one that I would definitely encourage other people to watch too.
Yeah, me too. I'd say definitely watch. And then my rating, I gave it on Letterbox was 4.5 out of
Mm,
5. So we're
pretty
close.
dang close.
Yes. But well done, as I just said, and we would love a sequel to this movie with these characters to see where the story goes next.
Hmm.
Well, this was so much fun, Catherine. Thank you for joining me. It's always a great time having you on.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and I look forward to doing it again soon.
Yes. Anyway, great American Family fans, I think that this concludes our review of Christmas in Midnight Clear. If you enjoyed this episode and are watching on YouTube, you can like this video and share your thoughts about the movie in the comments. If you are listening on Spotify, make sure to rate and review, as your feedback is always greatly appreciated. If you want to stay up to date on all of my reviews, you can subscribe to this channel on YouTube and follow along on Spotify, and make sure to turn on the bell so you are alerted when those new episodes are posted. You can also find the podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Swing My Heart Podcast, and Twitter at Swing My Heart Pod. And you can find Catherine and Brennan on their podcast on Instagram at rom_com love, and on YouTube for their episodes. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are in the world. And we love y'all. Bye.
Bye.